welcome to Ms. Duval and also Mr. Clark. As we look at the intergovernmental service agreement, we know that that is the agreement that needs to be signed by us in order for the borrowing schedule to be considered.
For the chiller project.
Yeah, so
And
it-
also sealed.
Pardon me?
It also signed and sealed.
Yeah.
So if we can't seal it tonight, I can have it by tomorrow.
Okay,
Excuse me for 1 minute, Robert steps a hold on because he's not in
Do
yet.
you have enough
Okay.
copies for everybody?
okay, just not public yet.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're on.
Okay, we're good.
Great.
Okay, welcome again to the Quabbin Regional School District people. Cheryl Duval, the head of finance, I would say the CFO, she probably has a different title, but, and Kevin Clark, who is the director of plant and facilities. We have been advised and also at town meeting have voted to approve the borrowing of an amount of money for the replacement of the chiller part of the HVAC system at the high school, which is a middle high school. And that amount of money has been certified at 300 and, what was the total on that? 387,000. Our share, of course, for Barre will be based upon enrollment, student enrollment. The length of the payback is going to be 5 years, and it's been voted by the school committee to be such. We are now going to witness that town has agreed to that, and it's been approved at town meeting, and we will approve that, seal it, so that you can do your borrowing, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, the three of us will sign that.
I think we need do we need a motion?
We need a motion just to, I guess, if you would like to, just certify the town meeting action. Because that's all we're doing is certifying the town meeting's action.
I move to certify the town meeting action to approve the chiller project and Barry's portion of it.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to approve the town meeting action to approve the chiller project put forth by the Quabbin Regional School District. We will certify that vote with our signatures. Cheryl?
May I?
You may.
So the intermunicipal agreement is actually changing something, so.
Yep, we're
you're
aware.
of that?
Yes,
Okay.
we are.
All right, I'm sure.
But the ones who are paying up front and those that aren't, yes, we are. You guys have done a great job. The superintendent's been here explaining it and so forth, so we're in good shape.
Well, if you want to get it started,
I know, I understand you can't get some of the parts. Huh?
transformer. Due to be shipped
Someday?
October 24th.
Oh,
You should have them just in time for January.
Hoping a little bit easier than that.
okay, so that being said and taken care of, Sandy, will you make sure that the town seals that?
Yes. You want me to pick it up tomorrow?
Sure.
I'll let you know. Okay, can you help? Okay, fine.
Okay, so now the Ruggles Lane lighting, and I don't know exactly what lighting, but we do not have an occupancy permit because we have, this lighting has failed, so explain that to us.
So during the recent building inspection to obtain our yearly occupancy, it was determined that several of the emergency lighting units throughout the building had failed. And the lighting units are an old style lighting units, so they're incandescent, but they're also battery backup because there's no generator. So you have self-contained units
Right.
with a battery backup over here, which daisy chains into a couple of lights with incandescent heads throughout the building.
Okay.
So the two quotes that are in front of you, one is for $9,200, which basically replaces existing to existing.
Okay,
So you're gonna go back with basically just replacing the box, which would have the charging unit and the battery, but controlling the same incandescent lights. The $14,000 is to replace with new self-contained units, which would be LED, and obviously longevity would be considerable amount longer. The only real options besides these two is whether the town ended up putting an emergency generator, and then it kind of changes everything. And in theory, you could go without actually having these, because everything would be
on the generator.
Backed up on the generator.
So,
Okay, so to be clear, these two options are independent of each other. It's not that
Correct.
this
Yeah.
one builds on this one. Okay.
right. So the 9,200 is taking your existing units themselves, leaving the two heads in place, the
Yeah.
old incandescent heads, and basically replacing the box, which has the charger unit and the battery unit in for those.
Mhm.
The other one would replace the units completely with LED, which lasts considerable amount longer.
A greater lifespan.
Mark, questions?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the bid proposal. How's that typically, do you come about it, you know what I mean, with I see Taunton Electric here. that like one of a few bids, or how does that work?
So basically, after the building inspection happened, the building inspector required us to have an electrician come in to certify the system. Once he provided the report, he provided these two bid proposals as to the options of it.
Yeah.
So
Cheryl,
once
you
it went
wanna-
over the
you wanna talk-
5,000, we kind of
Is-
stopped.
One electrician, just one electrician.
Yes, sir.
You want to talk from your perspective as the procurement officer as to three,
Not for very much longer, thank God.
get him trained, are you?
You're not required to get 3 bids unless it's over $100,000 right
Mhm.
now.
I'm just curious how it works.
So, if it was over $10,000, we should get 3 quotes. We've got one project that's under, one project that's over.
Mhm.
So we would need to get, if you wanted to go with replacing the whole system, we would need to try to get 2 more quotes.
Yeah.
So if we said this evening that we would like to go with the more expensive, LED solution, then we would say not to exceed 14,000, understanding we have one bid for 14, and then maybe you would come in, it would be 12,500, I don't know.
Yeah, we'd have to get 2 more quotes.
2 more quotes.
Okay.
So we would be
But that-
safe to authorize
Right,
use of
that
ARPA money for
language would be safe.
$14,000,
Yeah.
not to exceed.
So this is just to give us an idea for this one, whereas that one, could theoretically go ahead. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So we need a vote to authorize either item, the cheaper or the more expensive.
I mean, I personally think the LED option, the long-term benefits of that, I think would, make up for that difference. I mean, that's, replacing it one more time, it's already more expensive with the incandescent.
Well, replacing it with what we put in there in 1992 is probably not the best approach.
No, and the LED is
Right.
gonna provide a lot better light and
Yeah.
photo light.
Yep.
So
So I would personally be in favor of the LED option.
Would you make a motion to that effect?
Sure. I would move to approve up to $14,000 for emergency lighting repairs to replace deficient lights with LED units.
And that the money would be taken from the ARPA funds?
Yes.
So should I assume you want the district to do the procurement and not the town?
Yes, for sure.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to authorize the replacement and repair of emergency lighting with high output LED self-contained individual units for an amount not to exceed $14,000, and that amount of money or funding would come from our ARPA funds. We have a motion made and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're good to go.
Thank you. Thank you both
Thank you for
for
your
coming in.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Cheryl, nice to see you. I don't see you so often anymore.
No, nice to see you, Maureen.
Okay. I'm thinking that we probably have someone here from National Grid.
Yeah.
Okay, we've had a comment from our Public Works Department that they are not happy with or ready to
They
approve the
emailed us,
location of the
yeah,
poles.
because it wasn't staked out or something.
He had marked in the field.
So they can't, I guess, approve locations, they don't have any information as to what they are.
They're concerned about the proximity of the pole to the edge of pavement.
So we need to address that and probably put you on for another, I suspect, when have we said
I
next?
suggest the board move to continue the hearing until October 16th
Okay,
at 6 PM. Continuation means that we don't need to repost a public hearing notice and saves Sandy a little bit of work along the way, which I'm
Sounds good.
sure she
I
appreciates.
apologize for the information which just came to us probably late today.
3:45.
Yeah, so I apologize for your time this evening for coming here.
No, that's okay. I did visit the field and they weren't staked.
Oh, okay,
This is part of a larger project. For myself, a lot of we do like the micro stuff, the small stuff. We're updating the lines on the street.
okay,
And so they put that out to a, subcontractor because it's 100 poles and it
Yeah,
would take
yeah.
long.
Mhm.
And so they do those out to not only engineering but line crews.
right,
And it was a subcontractor who did this, so they designed it, they didn't stake them out.
Okay.
And, so it's, October 16th at
Yes.
6 PM.
Yep.
Is the meeting at 6 PM or just?
The meeting-
hearing?
The hearing will begin, our meeting starts generally at 6 PM,
Okay.
and so you'll be first.
Okay, and I apologize for whoever was not staking out those polls.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, see you on the 16th.
I would move to continue the public hearing on October 16th at 6 PM.
Second,
We have a motion made and seconded to continue the public hearing scheduled for National Grid joint or identical pole locations on Williamsville Road and Farrington Road. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, and we have the municipal agreement thing, we signed that. That's going to be certified by the town clerk.
Yes.
Okay, so we're good with that. A procedure for establishing policies and procedures. I don't know if that is you, Greg, or?
That's me.
Okay,
That's me, because it was mentioned at the last meeting, the board would like to take a look at its administration and finance policies and its employee personnel manual. And someone joked that we might need a procedure to decide how we're gonna amend our policies and
Right.
procedures, which, when you think about it, is actually a pretty good idea. So what I did was, I put down a procedure that I'm familiar with, but the essence of it is, it provides that any policy coming before the board for an amendment or adoption, there's a first reading, which is a brief description. It may or may not include a discussion amongst the board members. And then it's marked up for the next agenda as a second reading.
mhm,
A second, between the first and the second meeting, the board can request comments from department heads, schedule any hearings or any actions that it deems necessary. And then after that second reading or the second opportunity to review and discuss the policy, you can vote to amend and vote it by a majority vote of the board. If the chair declares a necessity to waive policy, you can adopt it at the first
Yeah.
meeting by unanimous vote. And this is something I've kind of worked with in my career. You
okay.
kind of put stuff out there. I don't necessarily have any particular problem if the board wants to change some of the wording, but the intent is kind of say that you don't want to adopt policies the first time you see it,
Mhm,
and especially where they affect other departments
Right.
and operations. So
mhm.
that's what it is.
I think it's a great first step for us.
So would this be the first reading of this
This will be the
policy?
first reading.
Okay.
So this being the first reading, we would know that the second reading would probably come on the 16th?
Yep.
And,
Okay. So we need to distribute this publicly then for review
Yep.
and comment from the public?
We do. We'll post it.
Okay.
We'll post it and distribute it to everybody.
Great.
and then if we have changes, that we think about ourselves, we should be prepared to,
Have an
Dis-
additional reading if
yeah,
necessary?
right, and have a discussion about it on the second reading.
So
Okay.
while we're talking about policies and procedures, the Teamsters, which represent our DPW, must have caught wind of our discussions, and they have reminded us that any changes in working conditions, new workplace policies and guidelines require impact bargaining.
Yep.
I don't think we have any particular policies or proposals that we want to discuss with them, but I take this as kind of a shot across the bow to let us know
I
what
knew it would be.
their obligations are, and
And we,
no harm taken.
yeah, and I think that we made it very clear at the other meeting that we understood that this is something that we asked for input on, and we do not just arbitrarily and unilaterally make crazy decisions. I hope.
Welcome to the world of public sector
Exactly.
labor relations.
Very familiar with the process.
Me too. That's why I've got so many gray hairs.
I know, I hear you.
What's my problem?
Too smart.
Right here.
Looks good on you.
Mr. Gravel, in deference to your attendance here, I see that you are here tonight probably to talk about your culvert issue. And I know that since our last meeting, the Conservation Commission has visited your property and has provided us with information that they're like, okay, whatever, it's not our thing, okay? It's not our thing. I
Goes
did,
back to this again.
yeah, I
Alright.
did have a conversation subsequent to their visit with the DPW the superintendent.
Yep.
And he indicated that he would like to meet with you on your property and talk about, you said he would like to say, this is where the culvert's actually gonna be extended to. you said that you might, if we provided the pipes, you would put in what you wanted to put in, blah, blah, blah. So you need to really have a conversation with him about the specifics.
I've had numerous conversations.
And,
Yes, a field or a site visit prior to any construction on the street, 3 months ago.
okay,
And
and,
he pointed fingers to building, Board of Health.
well,
And everybody's still doing this.
well, the Conservation Commission isn't doing that, they're just saying they're out.
Right. I went to the meeting last week. They said that it doesn't really fall within their jurisdiction. They sent me a copy of a letter they sent y'all.
Yep.
I have that. Thinking about reading it, I knew, because I was there.
Yep.
It's just a formality that they sent it to me. But I did a little investigating of my own,
Okay,
and here are the record of deeds from 1951 to current.
gee, even I was just,
There
wow.
are no permissions or easements to allow the town to dump road water onto my property. I do have a letter prepared. Unfortunately, my printer didn't want to work tonight. Technology is a wonderful thing when it works right, but I'm asking the board to remove it within 30 days.
Remove
for
what,
many
I'm
reasons.
sorry,
The culvert pipe.
okay,
It devalues my property, number one, and number two, it dumps the water almost in the center of the property where the perk test was done.
yeah, you explained that.
Right.
Well,
And
I would say that, one, you should, in writing, just formally give me that
I do
information.
have it, again, I just said a
Okay.
moment ago,
Yeah.
my printer didn't wanna work tonight.
Okay,
I put a new cartridge in it,
I got you.
I gotta beat it with a hammer all day long, it made me feel better, but it still wouldn't work.
Well, at any rate, we need to have a copy of that and
You have
have
an email,
our,
I can send it to you right now.
Sandy, you have an email he can send that to? Yeah, yeah, send it to you.
Hang on one second, I need to mold it, hate these stupid things nowadays. Okay.
I think you have mine.
Well, I don't have it in my phone, but can I have it please, hold it?
Yeah, S. Hood, Hood.
Yep.
At townofbarre.com.
Go away and check an email?
Do you know offhand what year that culvert was put in?
No, there's
Okay.
no record of it.
I wasn't sure if it
I
was,
was told that it was, it's been there since the first time. That's fantastic.
Since forever?
Well, so they tell me. I mean, the record of deeds only go back to, and those are printed downstairs in this office, this bill actually over here, last week. The records only, town records only go back to 1951. So, and I checked that one, of course Mike didn't do anything, I haven't done anything, so there's no record of any easement.
Mhm.
You know, I've tried to play nice in the sandbox.
Mhm.
I've tried to be proactive,
Mhm.
not reactive. I explained to Jason numerous times that I bought that property as a buffer and I'm going to sell it because my ex-wife took everything I had. Unfortunately, in the state of Massachusetts, you are considered guilty until proven innocent. Okay, so that is part of my retirement. And I've stressed the fact that I'd be happy to move it over, extend the pipe, however, the town of Barre has to maintain it. Now, since our last visit, I was here, the pipe has been clogged twice. Because there's been no silt prevention, no hay bales, no silt fence, nothing going down the road, nothing. And I'm very surprised, because of all parties involved, that nothing's been done. If it had been a private party, COMCOM would have been all over them like a cheap suit. Now, all this water and silt has not only clogged the pipe, but it's landed on my property. Right now, I don't care. That's not the reason why I'm trying to move it, so that down the road, when I go to get rid of it, whether it be 6 months, 6 days, 6 years, doesn't matter. However, the potential buyer could see that as a problem, and I don't want that. I got enough headaches in my life.
I think you've been very reasonable, sir. You've certainly demonstrated your ability to reason with us. I'm appreciative of that. I don't know of whether or not the Board of Health had any input into this or not. I
No,
know.
they just pointed me to COMCOM.
Okay, so the
And the only reason why I went there, ma'am, is because following the chain of command.
So I would suspect then if you serve us with that information, we will have our attorneys work on it, and there will be we will come to some meeting of the mind.
Right, and I can do the same thing on mine.
Right.
Did Cindy, excuse me, did you get that?
It won't let me on my phone. I'm trying to.
Did you receive the email?
Yeah, but it won't let me open it.
Okay, well, as long as you all received it. If you can't open it, I think you have my number or email in your office.
I do.
Reach out to me tomorrow and I'll try to beat my printer and you watch, I'll go home and it'll work.
Well,
Sweet.
Well, we understand that, believe me.
But like, just to reiterate, I was trying to work with the town,
Mhm.
just to move it over,
Mhm.
when they were doing it,
Mhm.
and I got blown off. I
Mhm.
felt this high out of a big stack,
Mhm.
okay? Tried to be proactive, now I'm upset.
Mhm.
Take the
Sir, if
damn
this
thing
is you upset, I wish everyone would be like you when you're
out.
upset.
I'm biting my tongue.
Oh, okay. Well, we appreciate that. You've been more than reasonable, and,
Again, there's no reason why we can't work together and
well,
be
I'm,
proactive on many things.
right.
And in this case, it should have happened.
Mhm.
Instead, I was blown off. I'm a taxpayer like everybody else in this room.
Mhm.
Whether it's this town or another town, we all have our own properties.
Mhm.
We all pay taxes.
Mhm.
And I don't think my request from day one was unreasonable.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep, we hear you. So, at any rate, this will
Think-
certainly initiate action, and I'm appreciative of your help in that regard.
Okay, do you have an estimated time when I may hear back?
Well, as soon as we get your thing,
Well, that indicates
Yeah.
30 days to remove the pipe.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, once we get that, obviously, our interim town administrator, who's probably counting the days to his new life of
Retirement?
not being
No, I
interim.
already am retired.
Good for you.
I do this at
And so I would suspect, once we get that information and we get our attorneys involved, we will be able to
Yeah.
move things along.
Okay, well, y'all have a copy of the deeds,
I do,
and that was printed off in the
Yep.
assessor's office
Yep.
here. So that, from what I understand, is no different than if I did it at home on the record of deeds. I'm not very good at that kind of stuff, so I came down here and asked the assessor to give me a few minutes of his time, and he was very gracious to do so.
Yes.
And he had it record time.
okay, thank you.
Maybe
Sandy, I'm
it's a
gonna
great
give that to
He
you,
does.
so you can just put it with the documents when we get them, and then Greg, you'll take and make next
Should I be
steps.
put on the next meeting to
On the
see what
16th?
progress?
I would suspect if you'd like to come, would love to welcome you. We will be able to tell you where we are,
Okay,
okay?
should be able to make that
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks.
Yep.
And I'll set Sandy, or is that
Yes.
gonna see you in the morning?
It's not letting me.
You got this?
Okay, we're good.
I'll make sure I get to you.
Thank you, Mr. Gravel.
Thank you, all. Have a good
Thanks,
evening.
Tom.
You too.
Take care.
Okay, police auxiliary officers appointment. Are you here for that?
I'm here more for the signboard.
Oh, for the signboard, okay. Do we want to do electronic sign usage now, in deference to the chief's, I hate you have to sit here through stuff that's of wonderful importance, but not of interest to you.
I'm here for the sign as well.
I'm shocked to hear that.
I think it's about
So I did send you a copy, but it was pretty late there. I sent it just earlier today, but I do have a copy of,
Okay, yeah, I didn't see that.
yeah. It was a little late getting that to you.
John, if you want to just maybe review the information that you just shared.
Sure, so what I just handed to our chief is actually, it's part of the manual and uniform traffic control devices, the MUTCD, which is accepted by our state as law. That's the only reason they give us any federal funding for roads. Every state adopts it, some have amendments to it, it's the whole thing. And so what this document actually has is instructions on what changeable message signs are allowed to be used for. A particular interest is,
another copy of that?
I don't have another copy. I can get you a link to it though.
Oh, no, I don't wanna work on the copy.
We'll get you.
I can give you
We'll
this
get you.
after. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Email
just
this to me,
wanted
I
to
just
see
haven't
what
seen
you're
it
talking
yet.
about.
Yeah.
Maybe I learned something.
So paragraph 3 is the standard, except as provided in paragraph 2 of section 2L.02, so this section. Changeable message signs shall display only traffic operational, regulatory, warning, and guidance information. Advertising messages shall not be displayed on changeable message signs or its supports or other equipment. Down in section 2L, it kind of gives some examples. So changeable message signs have large number of applications, including incident management or route diversion, which of course the police would use it for, warnings of adverse weather conditions. I'm not sure how on top of that we are in this town, but you'd see them on the highway. Special event applications associated with traffic control conditions. I know that is one that it comes up regularly, where if the center is going to be blocked, if there's going to be detours, those events will be put on there to demonstrate that there are traffic control conditions. Control at crossing situations, lane ramps, a few other highway things, travel times, speed control. So the critical thing here is that when they're being used for, displaying information about an event, it's related to traffic control conditions. So the way we've actually been doing that, Sandy will provide a document. What was that document called for a full blown event? For a larger scale event, and but essentially,
It's just a standard form that they would fill out.
Yeah.
Request to use, put a sign on the.
yeah. So there's a more complicated. Actually, I don't have the copy with me. Event application where it would be signed off by police, signed off by
Oh, just a special
Yeah,
event permit?
Special-
event.
special
That's what
event
you're
permit.
talking
Yes,
about?
the
Oh,
special
okay, I'm
event
sorry.
permit.
I thought you were talking about a request to put an actual sign on the common.
No, the special event application, those are the ones where police are involved in all of the traffic mitigation aspects, and that's where we approve the use of those signs for events like that, effectively. We approve the police plan for it, effectively.
For example, when you say, whatever that event is,
Well,
A parade.
250th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's
Bazaar
parking,
over there.
and there's parking at the Ruggles Lane School, there's no
Mhm.
parking here, or traffic will be diverted. That kind of stuff is very appropriate.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, and I usually I'll put use caution,
Yeah.
or,
Yep.
just to try to
Delays,
warn.
delays may be expected.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly,
Okay.
Mhm.
to give people a heads up.
Now, would that sign, according to the regulations, could that be used for just regular, for voting, for federal voting or state
Nope.
voting?
Technically, no.
Technically, no.
So, and that's.
Which
one
is
of the
why I
reasons-
never should, I guess I shouldn't have asked for it to be put on those.
One of the reasons that I wanted to be here too was just to kind of reiterate that, the whole purpose of the sign is safety, is
Mhm.
public
Yeah.
safety. And one of the reasons that we use it is it does have a radar unit associated with it, so we can set it up on somewhere that's a trouble area where we have a lot of speeders. And not only will
Good to know.
it display vehicle speed, but it also records data for
Right.
us.
Mm.
So we can say, in a given period,
Mhm.
we've had this many vehicles going over the speed limit.
I mean, you could
Mm.
say, polling stations located on this street, use caution.
Yeah.
Bend in the rule a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
I think
push it
I'm
a
blurring
little.
lines a little bit, but I could say that.
I mean, if you expect traffic impacts because of the polling, maybe.
I mean, it's busy, it's busy
a
down
stretch there.
I think my major concern is I think that the town of Barre needs. and I
Its
know
own
I've said this
sign, its
before,
own sign, we agree.
Yeah.
We need a sign that we can put public information on.
Absolutely.
This is not a
Yeah.
public information sign, this is a public safety sign.
In light of that, I actually brought, I think I handed a couple out, but I know there's been
Yeah.
some resistance to having them on the common. I just wanted to highlight an example in Paxton where it blends in really well with the historic surroundings. So I think, there's a way to do it. Yeah, absolutely. Right there.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I-
Paxton.
Is that at the town hall?
yeah,
Yep.
I've seen it, I go by.
100 times.
Yeah. So
Even if
there are
we
ways to
kind
do
of
it
put
that are,
Here or in front of the public safety
Yeah.
building, anywhere. I mean, I just think that it's a dire need for the town.
I certainly think one up here, and then, there's
Well,
the
one at
scrolling
Nornay
line in
Park, they
Southbury that
put
could be.
Quite a few events on, the one at Nornay Park. they
That's
did.
about this big, and it
Yeah.
goes so fast.
Yeah. And the
Actually,
senior
that's
center,
one in front
senior
of the
center
fire
kind of goes
station.
backward,
Yeah.
so that's always
Yeah.
interesting. I mean,
There are
let's-
context appropriate signs that we can get.
yeah. And really, the place for it is uptown, and,
And that-
where the Welcome to Barre sign is, it's really, but
The
it,
scales, yeah.
it's gonna have to be something that the Historical Society can buy into. And they're not into looking at one of those signs, as they say, yeah. But anyway, and I believe we do have access through ARPA and even through our common project monies that are
I
still
think the common
available.
project might be a good
Yeah, and.
direction to go with that, and possibly.
And I mean, I think we can, we're gonna just have to get the historical, because of our, this being historic common and all the things that we have to do to keep that,
Yep.
designation. So I suspect if we can say to the Historical Society, you tell us what it has to look like.
Mhm. Yeah.
You tell us what it has to look like.
We can get some examples to help, but yeah, we're
Yeah.
open to
Yeah.
whatever we can do. I think it's also worth considering Southbury as well, where that scrolling sign is perhaps something more, in line with
Yep.
with what we would have uptown as well. ARPA funds potentially for that, but
I mean, such signs are not cheap. I mean, let's be
No,
honest, they're
no.
not cheap. So,
But-
but Chief, thank you so much for,
Thank
Yeah.
God for ARPA.
I'm sorry?
They're not cheap, thank God for ARPA.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, and you also wanna
we
have.
still have common funds that we haven't spent yet.
You also wanna have something that
Common
connects,
funds.
has an internet connection
Oh,
to it.
absolutely.
Mhm.
So it can be
Changed from
edited
anywhere.
and modified right
Yeah.
from the administration office
Absolutely.
here.
Yeah.
Makes it much easier.
and then perhaps some agreement with the high school and with the senior center to share some slides and also include some of their events going on, have some
Yeah.
sort of system in place.
Good, yeah.
You want this back, by
No, he emailed me a copy, I just haven't,
the way? Oh, okay.
I haven't had it.
I just sent it to him last
Thank you
minute.
very much
so-
for that, John.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely.
Yeah,
So, where's that? we're
Well,
good.
on that, we are,
Okay.
before I depart, did you have any questions on the auxiliary traffic personnel?
Seems insane to me, but, no,
It seems insane to me. Like I said last time, I've never in a million years would I have thought
I'm with you.
that I would have to go and ask civilians to.
It's okay, like, if I apply, right?
Absolutely.
I was thinking about it.
Oh, I go through Hubbardston on my way to work in the morning, and I see them, they've been out there, what seems like day after day after, and all it did was rain.
It's a big project.
Yeah, it is a big project. They got more grant there than, more granite, my God.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And all those,
Is there a motion that
There
you
was
guys are gonna make?
yes, we're going to make a motion for the auxiliary, I
No, I don't mean that.
I have
But
those.
the
Regarding
sign
sign.
issue. Is there
Well-
a motion that you guys are gonna,
well, we're going to follow the law.
no, I'm not talking about that, I'm just talking about getting everybody together to come up with a plan
That
to
would be-
use the monies that you said that you have, to have a sign for Barry. Is there a motion
If
that
we-
you guys?
I mean,
do?
we certainly could have a motion for that. I mean, it's our expectation to do it. If you want to have a motion, that's up to the board.
I don't know.
I guess I'm not
I mean,
sure what
but
the
once-
motion would be.
Once I do all the research and get all the information on what we're gonna have for a sign, then I would think the word motion.
Well, I think, that-
That involves a lot of others.
Why don't we plan to have this on the agenda 1 month from now for the first week of November, if that works? If that's reasonable, to have more information?
I
I don't think
think,
we need a motion for that, though.
I think what we have to do is we have to inform the Historical Society that it is our intent,
Yeah.
okay, to do this. And that we need them to participate with us, because I can think that something looks great, and Mark can agree, and then they say,
No.
and they really have a lot of, authority
Yeah.
over the historic situation
Right.
that we have, if we're gonna.
I believe it's a historic district, so.
I agree.
yeah.
And I think that the best place to put it is where the town Barry sign is now. I don't think putting it down in the worst intersection in the community,
No.
which is a horror show. I just wanna take it, cut
That's
the
state
bush,
layout anyway.
let's just cut the bushes down on
Yeah.
one side, that would help. But,
Yeah, I believe that's state property.
That is,
Yeah.
yeah. That's,
yeah,
It is.
yeah.
well, we could put in front of the,
And they're not gonna let us put advertising materials on state land.
and I guess we own the tip right of that place right in front of the pharmacy. The town owns that, I think.
I'd have to look
Yes.
at a map, yeah.
But it's tiny.
It is small.
But it'd be the
That's-
worst place, I can't
that's not-
imagine.
Yeah, no,
having
that
more people-
intersection-
Probably wouldn't last long, somebody would mow it down.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, that intersection does not need more distractions.
no, it certainly doesn't. Okay, so I would say that if you would like to authorize Sandy or myself to talk with the Historical Society and have them present
Yeah,
at the next meeting where we can discuss this.
either
'Cause
the
they're-
next meeting or the one after. I know the next meeting, it might be kind of getting loaded up with stuff at this
Yeah, it
point.
is, okay, the first meeting in
So
November.
first in November, if we could see if the Historical
Yeah.
Society could join us or have a representative for further discussion.
Yeah, that would be, the first meeting would be the 6th. The 6th of November. For us. So that sounds good. I will, and let the Historical Society know, or Sandy, and let them know that we'd love them to be in attendance. And and if they would like to even consider some prototypes, so we're not dragging this out forever. Because
Yeah.
because to sit and just talk about prototypes, where if they can come with what because they will go around and they will look at other communities, and they would, I'm sure, have recommendations for us.
Also, if we're considering using the common funds, let the common committee,
That would be Paul Cranston and other
Yeah.
people who are on that
yep, let
committee.
them, invite them as well.
Yeah. Well, Paul Cranston brought it up, that he thought it would be something that we should do,
Mhm.
and so, well.
Great.
There are other people on the common committee at this point, I just don't know who they are. I don't mean to stick that with Paul.
Actually, there's two. Nobody else wanted to re-up.
Really?
And nobody, I have it advertised on the website.
Yeah.
No bites.
Gee, maybe I should sign up. One more vote. Okay, so we'll be working on that on November 6th. And Sandy, would you make sure you invite the
Yeah.
appropriate historical people? Okay.
Auxiliary officers.
Okay.
Yeah, I gave you a list.
Yep, got it right here.
So in the future,
Yeah.
until we get all straightened out, there won't be any direction to citizens telling them, remember to vote.
Other than you and me on a sandwich sign, I don't know.
I'm just asking.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, we can put it in Nornay Park, we can put it at the senior center, which is the polling place. But we will not be using that sign to talk about town meetings.
Voting.
We might, I doubt we would be able to use the Quabbin sign, but we might be able to, because technically, the town of Barre, and that's not the
Because
town of Barre.
people, I don't know where, I guess, maybe they use it on, maybe people go online, maybe they go on YouTube, but,
Well, I would say, when you look at, when they're gonna do the car show, there's a big sign saying about the car show, and we certainly could do that as the town. At least, because it's not a permanent sign, the Historical Society isn't gonna go absolutely crazy about that. But that sign is, you certainly see that coming up and going down. It's the center of
I
town.
was just concerned about voting, only
Yeah.
because from the beginning, I wanted, based on the sandwich sign that I
Mhm.
walked around with.
Town
and I
meeting.
wanted to bring people in, because our meetings, our town meetings are very sparsely visited. And some of them, we have difficulty finding a quorum. Is
Well,
that
I
right?
haven't been at one, you haven't had a quorum on in years and years and years.
But there was one that we discussed about the sewer system. There was something, people had to go.
Oh, the one that was at the high school, you couldn't hear anything.
Yeah.
That one.
Who, they had to look for people to come to get a quorum.
Well, they may have had to on that one. That was a good meeting not to be at.
So, so I just think that it's really important to vote, you know, it's,
Yeah.
I agree.
It is.
and my back's still pretty good, but there are limits, right?
There are
I
limits.
may have to put it on the chief's back.
I don't think that would be allowed. Okay, so moving on to, going to the police auxiliary officer's appointment. We have a list of individuals who are seeking to be considered. Chief, have you seen those?
Yeah,
You
I mean,
have-
if I could, I have them, submit their, name and credentials to the lieutenant,
Yeah.
Lieutenant Brown. So all of these people have had, have submitted their proper documentation.
Okay,
with
and
their
you've, have
training
you,
and everything.
do you do queries on these people or anything? So these are all queried,
Yes.
and, okay?
Yep.
So your recommendation is that we approve Jennifer Walker, Emily Walker, Christina Gustafson, David Moran, Thomas George, Jesse Clayman, Raymond Balser, Ed Flanagan, and James DiVigilia, our chief. Okay,
Yes.
do we have a recommendation or?
Yep,
a
I would
motion?
move to approve the
I actually have
auxiliary.
a question.
Okay,
I see that most of those are fire department, if not all.
I don't know if they are
Yeah.
most, okay.
My question is, has there been any police officer, retired police officer that have actually tried to,
We haven't had any police officers actually retire from Barre in a long time.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying from any other communities.
From any
or
other
something. Yeah,
communities?
you know what I mean?
No,
Nothing, huh?
no. A lot of the surrounding communities are doing the same thing,
Yeah.
so.
It's hard to believe to me.
We do have a new part-timer that's coming on, that's actually gonna do part-time patrol.
Yep.
Who is a retired sergeant from Gardner. But he's actually he'll do details as well, but he's actually gonna be on the patrol side as well.
Now, in that type of thing, would they be preferential on how they're called, because they are police?
All
retired police?
full-timers and part-timers will
Yeah,
have first right.
Okay, all right.
Okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so we have a motion made and seconded to approve the list as presented.
I don't believe it was seconded.
I'm sorry, we have a,
Actually, I'm not sure I totally made the motion. I moved
No,
to
you didn't.
approve the police auxiliary officer appointment as read.
we have a motion. We have a
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to approve the police auxiliary officers as presented, including the names of Jennifer Walker, Emily Walker, Christina Gustafson, David Moran, Thomas George, Jesse Clayman, Raymond Balser, Edward Flanagan, and James DeVirgulo. I would just be concerned that they can't call in sick or take a vacation day and do this, can they?
I'm not gonna keep track of that, if my
Right.
department's not.
Because
gonna-
these are
Yeah, that
already
was a-
employees of our town. Because, they're gonna make considerably more money per hour doing this than their regular job.
I know
That's,
as special municipal employees, they're not entitled to overtime.
Thank God.
But as far as tracking if they call out sick and
Yeah.
take a detail, that's not something that my department's going to research.
How do they make known that they're available?
Well, so we're gonna just have a rotating list, so we're gonna go top down, if whoever takes it goes to the bottom of the list, and then we go through it again,
Mhm.
and kind of rotate that way.
Okay.
Now, would that include refusals, so if someone refuses, they go to the bottom?
We haven't
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
completely figured that out. I know for our guys, we track hours and everything, we're not gonna be tracking hours.
Right.
It's just gonna be whoever takes it first, okay, they get it, and then they're moved to the bottom of the list, and then we go through the list again.
Mhm.
Now, I would think that you would consider more people to be put on the list, like say officer did one. Would you-
I started
consider that?
with 10 people, I
Yep.
can expand that list.
Okay.
And that's
Mhm.
my prerogative, so.
Ready to-
Yeah.
You gonna sign on, Mark?
No,
Oh.
I don't want to make one dime in this town.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we have the first 10
Very good,
approved.
all right, thank you.
And I would suspect that we would watch and make certain that people who are already employed in our community are not utilizing sick time or personal time to go do a duty.
Yeah, I think that would be on
I mean,
I know,
other,
but we spoke about that.
Yeah.
yeah, and I guess that goes more onto their regular full-time job to,
to manage.
yeah.
Okay,
I think that goes for any person, whether they're employed by the town or not, If they're calling in sick to a private job and their employer finds them,
it's not a
It's on
good
the
thing.
street with traffic.
Manipulation of schedules as well, so they can attain those.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, because there's a sewer guy here, sewer department person.
And then, in the long end of it, they might like it so much, and they make a lot more money, maybe that's what we're gonna do, and we lose them.
Well, they'd have to, one thing, there's no benefits, and you could, some months you wouldn't get called at all.
Yeah, no, that's true,
Yeah.
we're coming into a slower season,
Yeah.
so.
So,
Mhm.
But it's gonna be, this'll be key, once they do like Route 62, that project.
Oh, yeah.
State project or something like that.
Tell me now, who actually makes the call to them? Is it the contractor?
No, it'll be, so we'll get the detail, we'll go
Okay.
through it with
Okay.
our personnel.
Okay.
If we can't fill it, then we'll
Okay,
call through that.
and so
list.
you would provide us with a list of people that you've put on, that have taken the position, or who pays them?
Well, we will pay them through payroll,
Okay,
because we had them, if they're not already employed by the time, we had them fill out part-time
Right.
employee packets.
okay,
So they are in the system.
okay.
And so, Amy, when she does payroll, it'll just be added into that, because then it will.
And she
get
could provide us
invoiced.
with a list,
Yep.
Okay.
It'll be invoiced to
the
The contractor.
contractor, right, yeah. Okay, so she could, at our request, give us a list of what designated people are actually taking these things. Okay,
absolutely.
all right.
right.
Sounds good. Thank you, Chief.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Drive safe.
Thank you.
Do we shut the air off?
Oh,
Why?
yeah. It's
Yeah, it's
cold.
chilly in here.
Yes, it is.
For the record, I didn't turn it on.
Okay,
I did.
do we have a town administrator report?
I do, so, I just have something that I brought up at the last meeting, and, I'd like to go through it with the board. It's the proposal for, changing the town's website.
Oh, yes.
So we're presently with a company called GovOffice, and we pay, for our website hosting, we pay $4,160 a year. Those who've been to the town's website, it's pretty vanilla flavored, not really what I would consider to be content rich,
Right.
nor offering anything beyond what the basic services would be.
Mm-hmm.
So I did reach out to a company that did seem to be interested in securing our business, and they're called Town Web. And they submitted a proposal here. You don't need to go through all the details, but the most important thing is if you turn to page 6, starts off and it says our municipal package offering. I kind of want to go through those with the board, because I think this just kind of gives you an idea what the content would be if we went with them, and my thought is we should go with them because I think they offer things that our current platform does not offer. The first thing that they would do is have a citizen engagement and reporting app, 311, which is a great service, and especially if you have the app, it provides instantaneous contact to your town officials, and it's really something that's, it's, I'm not talking, but I'm talking about related more
No, I
to
know.
complaints of, you know, trash on the road or whatever it is, but I just think it's a great thing to have.
Right.
The communication platform about mass notifications, free email and text messages,
Excellent.
is really huge in terms of us getting information out to citizens.
Yep.
The link to the town's social media platforms, so it automatically posts to our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and any others that may be added in the future, which I think saves time and effort with us
Yep.
having to duplicate. They're willing to do a free website redesign.
To start,
To start.
yeah.
So we will pay a little bit extra to
Right.
start, because they need to kind of formulate the website.
Mhm.
So, and then every 4 years thereafter, we redesign it for you, which I think keeps it functional.
Yep.
The
Well, they do citizen portals.
citizen payment portal
Wow.
is a pretty big thing. Digital
Certainly had issues with our current payment system.
So
Or
digital
lack thereof.
digital workflows from a management standpoint is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That it directs specific inquiries to staff
Yeah.
for resolution, which we don't have that right now.
Right.
Everything comes into me or Sandy.
Right.
Anytime there's a citizen requests something, it comes to me, and then I'm responsible for sending it out. If I'm for some reason not around or not available, the request may lag for 3, 4, 5 days, and people don't really like that very well. E-signatures for signing of documents. Integrated utility billing. So you can see here, it simplifies the process, and we could explore whether it's applicable for the purposes of utility billing. I'm not saying that's something we go ahead and we jump at right now, but it is nice to see that it's an option available. Facility booking. So right now, that's all done through Sandy. So if someone wants to book a facility, they have to contact Sandy and then fill out the proper paperwork. Here, this would be done through the town's website, and if there's a charge, they could make that payment directly without ever touching anyone's hands. Clerk minutes, so this is really pretty neat. I attended one of their training programs, and it's not up and running just yet, but they intend to do a transcription of every meeting that takes place.
Good.
and it will be done automatically without any additional cost.
Wow,
So it's,
Wow.
I think that's a pretty rich,
yeah.
tool to have available.
I mean, that's great for accessibility aspects too.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic for people going back and wanting to
Mhm.
see records. What I don't know is whether they would host any of our videos. That I don't know. It's something I'd
Okay.
like to take a look at and see what they might have availability for
So we
hosting.
could transcript this meeting?
Exactly.
Tell me this, where other, you know any other communities?
I
that-
don't.
Okay.
I don't. So I would ask for a listing of communities. So the cost is comparable. So,
Okay.
I mentioned to you is there's a $995 one-time setup fee,
Oh, that's nothing.
which is relatively small.
Yeah,
And then the annual cost to the town would be, going forward would be $3,600 a year.
first year is 41.
41, and then it reverts to 36 thereafter. 36, 15.
And they do a 4-year deal?
36.
Wow.
3615, and they'll give you a 4-year deal on it. So, short of me going ahead and finding other communities that are on board with this, I think this is a win
Mm-hmm.
for the town and gives what, Madam Chair, you've asked for, more content and a richer variety of.
I mean,
Well,
it looks
you
like
know,
a real wonderful possibility. I don't mean to see, but I think it's very inexpensive.
I do too.
Whew.
And considering what we pay right now, and I can say we get very little service in return,
Oh,
other than them sending me a bill, I never hear from them.
Right. So you will check this
So
out?
I'll check back, and then I'll come back with a final recommendation for your next meeting.
Now, is this something that we could use PEG funds for?
I think so.
Yeah, that could be a great way to spend some of that money.
It really would be a good way to go through
Great.
it.
Yeah, great. Well, great, thank you, Greg,
Yeah.
for following up on that.
Yeah,
That's all I have in my report this evening. I know you're gonna discuss the candidates, and I will call the consultant who will join us remotely by telephone.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
So when you're ready, just.
So we'll
let me
do
know.
that on the 16th or November 6th? What do you guys want to do? Having this person, I don't know.
I don't know what the schedule quite looks like for the 16th, if there's
Yeah.
space for it.
I don't think it'll take too much time.
Okay. And we could
Leave it on
only
the
do it,
16th.
you know, a little
I think
early.
it would take time is if you want to see, they indicated they would do a demonstration.
Mm-hmm,
So if you wanted to see a demonstration, they could do that for your meeting and give you complete comfort, in which case you could defer it until the 6th and spend a half an hour kind of going forward.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll look at the agenda, and if we've got time, maybe you can get them to at least give you a tentative 16th or November 6th, so if we wanted to.
Yeah, and I think a demonstration would be
I do too.
helpful.
I do too.
Okay, and you'll check out, make sure that wherever they're working, people are happy with them, and,
Well, that's kind of the key piece.
yeah,
I
it is
agree.
kind of key. Okay, great, thank you so much. Anything else, Greg?
No, I'll call the consultant if you're ready to move on to the next item on the agenda.
I think we are. When select board reports before we
Sure.
move forward, anybody have other information beside stuff that's been on the agenda?
Not at this
The
point.
only thing I have is I actually visited the dam site,
Yep,
and
Mhm.
I was taken up there by one of the residents who lives there, been up there his whole life, and it shed some light on the whole situation for me.
great.
And, you know, obviously we'll talk about that at a later date, but.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
It's tomorrow.
5:30?
5:30.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know if I will be here. I think I'm gonna be, in Virginia tomorrow.
Okay,
So, yeah, so I don't really know if, any input that I have right now, I mean, it's not on the agenda, I didn't know if we can even talk about it, you know?
well, I know we've got other things to do on the agenda. We could,
Yeah.
you know, if you want 10 or 15 minutes just to talk.
I don't need that much.
Oh, okay.
Just your report.
I
on-
spoke to Greg about it. It was, the dam, the spillway was breached years ago.
Mhm.
And the elevation of the water isn't, I mean, it isn't to a point where I would think, again, I'm not an engineer, and coming, you know, say a few hundred yards out from the dam, it's all low and mucky and whatnot, you know, maybe a foot and a half, 2 feet. And the depth of the water is not for some distance out. And I don't believe, from what I'm told, that they said it's, you know, maybe 6, 7 feet of water out there. But the water is always flowing through
The
that
spillway.
spillway. So to be able to say that we could have a massive wall of water, it could never accumulate that fast because it's moving so quickly through that spillway all the time. That would be my opinion. So it's, I don't think, it's, you know, again, we gotta visit with the engineers and whatnot, but, as far as what I see, I don't see that there would be, like, anything, you know, right up front, with all this water that we have had, and nothing has happened. I was up there right after a rainstorm, and it was flowing, and it was minimal flowing, maybe a foot of water flowing through there. And you can't, I mean, it's such a large body of water, you'd have to have 4 feet of water fall at one time to actually make that, so it would, you know what I mean, which would never happen, you know what I mean? As everything, if the rain's falling, it's moving through there, it's pouring through there. It may be a foot, but, you know, when it's slow, it's trickling through there. So I don't believe you could accumulate that much water that would give you a head wall like that, that would, you know, devastate the community downstream. Now, the dam downstream, that's a whole different story, I don't know much about that, but, that's my take on it. That's all I have to say.
Well, I don't even know if some of the state people who will be with us even have seen the dam.
So I requested that they go up and take a look at it.
Oh, good.
So whether they have or not, as a result of the last meeting, I implored them to go up there and take a look at it.
Okay, good. Okay, well, we'll see what happens tomorrow night at 5:30. We have the dam as our single issue of concern, I believe. Okay. Other select board reports?
No.
Okay, seeing none, correspondence?
I don't, Sandy, you have anything?
No. Gee, that's interesting and good. Okay, we will await Mr. Gravel's documents and so forth tomorrow, so we
Yeah,
need to move on that.
My phone will let me,
Okay,
I have to go through all these steps to get there.
yeah, okay. All right, I do think,
Meeting minutes?
meeting minutes, yes,
Just
we'll,
wanted to make sure
we'll
you-
get back and do those.
No public comment?
Okay.
Okay,
Madam
so,
Chair, that Mr. Stepsinski is ready when you are.
yeah, we're just gonna do September 18th meeting minutes for approval, please, those, and
Yep.
you've had those, an opportunity to review those, and we have
Yes.
a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the September 18th minutes.
We have a motion made to accept the September 18th meeting minutes.
Second motion?
We have a motion made and seconded to approve the September 18th meeting. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now we're ready to go. Okay, now, I believe we're going to have some information from Buzz Stepzinski, who is going to talk a little bit about the interviews that we had last week for the position of town administrator. So Buzz, welcome to our meeting. You are on our phone system here, so if you talk nice, and we don't have a lot of people here, but we do have some, and they are close enough to hear, so I think we're in good shape.
All right, good. Well, if you can't hear me, if it's not sufficiently loud, just let me know, okay?
Yeah, will do.
All right. So as, we met 3.5, 4 hours last Wednesday, and you folks interviewed 4 candidates. You did not want to deliberate that night. So I would expect that you'd be deliberating now on these 4 individuals. So that's what I'm here to assist with, any deliberation or any questions that you may have about these individuals that I would have in my notes, or I can obtain about them from information that we've gotten about them. And so it's, I'm ready to assist in your deliberation at your request.
Okay, Buzz, thank you so much. I would open it up to comments and so forth by the board members, and obviously, Greg, we would appreciate your, sage advice as we move through this process. I know that it's very difficult for any one person to have an interview for an hour, and for us to be absolutely confident and assured that the person would or wouldn't be able to fulfill the responsibilities of the job. Buzz, I did hear from Greg that the last woman we interviewed has withdrawn. Is that correct?
Not entirely. No, we're still waiting. I've heard that perhaps she might. I'm not sure.
Oh,
that she has. I have not heard. I know she did tell me she was candidate on other searches.
Okay,
So I'm not sure what's going to happen there, quite honestly, at this moment.
okay, thank you so much. Well, then she is still a person of consideration for our group then, because we think she's a candidate elsewhere perhaps, but she may or may not get the nod from somewhere else, but, okay. So,
That's correct.
okay, thank you. So I don't know if people have comments they would like to share, or so on and so forth. I mean, it's a very big decision that we have before us, and,
I mean, I can start off with my numbers, so to speak. You know, I did go through, as we were interviewing, through the resumes, the responses, and have, you know, scored them out in different categories that I consider important, especially after talking with department heads. And through that, the highest scoring on mine was Frances Daigle, followed by Tammy Martin, as two candidates there.
well, I certainly would just say a few comments on my perspective on the candidates. I agree with you with Tammy Martin having a great sense and understanding of financially managing a community.
Mhm.
She understands it soup to nuts.
Absolutely the highest for my financial category.
Yeah, I worry only that she's, you know, I don't know if we haven't asked the right questions. She seems a little weak perhaps in human resources and so forth, and actually managing people. Although she's had some, you know, she's had some experience managing in the private sector. So I agree with you, has one of the most important things we do as a community is manage finances.
Yep.
And respond to people. She's high marks from me for that. I would say that I would not, at this point in time, without further information, consider hiring anybody else of the candidates who participated.
My
Yeah,
thoughts.
Go ahead.
I'm with you on that, Maureen, unless we had, more interview or another interview. I just can't see myself making a decision, that would, you know, benefit the town.
Yeah, I think one of the concerns I had that kind of spanned across all candidates is that, you know, we have very strong department heads who are incredibly good at their job, incredibly strong in what they want to do. We have a police chief who is seeking accreditation, who's putting together new policies and procedures for his department. We have a fire chief who's seeking grants all the time. We have a town clerk who's attending trainings constantly to make sure that our elections are tip-top and impeccable shape. You know, we have very strong department heads, and if there isn't someone, you know, their job, you know, in many ways is to advocate for their department. And these people are iron, they're steel, and if they're, you know, hitting someone who isn't that same you know, material, that person's going to get bent out of shape.
Yeah.
And I have some concerns about the different candidates in that regard. So.
I do believe that we would benefit personally to having another interview with at least Tammy Martin. I think she has a lot of very important financial management skill that the town could benefit from. But I agree with you, John, you know, your description of, you know, having the tensile strength to understand, you know, not butting heads, but being able to make, you know, well, yeah, we know you're really a great department head for X, but X is not any more important than Y. And then you know, just sort of deliberate with people,
Who
you
can
know,
keep the focus of what's best for the town as a whole.
yeah, not just for my individual department. So I worry about that, and that I would like to look into with more detail and depth. Okay, Buzz, I think we're done.
All right, if I may, I think at this stage, what I'd like to say is the Greg Belluconis you see sitting in front of you now is not the Greg that started in North Reading. What was your first town, my friend?
Orange Mass.
Orange, Mass. All right. So, 35 years ago, the Board of Selectmen in Orange, Mass had the courage to hire this fellow. And I'm sure the three of them had this same deliberation, pondering, can this young man do the job? Because the last person was in here, he probably, the person you followed probably had 40 years of experience, probably grew up in town,
Buzz, you're getting kind of garbled. I don't know if it's the phone or exactly where you're standing or what.
It could be my phone. What didn't you hear?
It's good now.
I don't know what I didn't hear. It was
Okay. All right. Tell you what, I'm going to move to another place. I live in a valley, and the AT&T is not so good all the time. I can call in on a landline if needed. Is this improving at all?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Then the point that I want to make is that a lot of communities that we work with will look at the current town administrator, or in this case, the interim, Greg, and say, well, we want him or we want her with all of his or her skills. The situation is that the person in front of you now, when he started in Orange, Massachusetts, as their town administrator or executive secretary or town coordinator, whatever the title was, in 1985.
83.
83. All right, you're older than I thought.
Yeah.
Is not the same individual that he is today, because he has so many years of experience in the profession, and so any individual that you choose, and it is hard to expect that they will have all of the skills that the fellow sitting in front of you has. And so I wanted to let you know that. The second is, I think for any of the candidates, you would benefit from a second interview.
Mm-hmm.
Some communities approach the interview process a little differently than you folks. Some have screening committees, selection committees, that sort of thing, and then they have at least one, and maybe sometimes two interviews with the candidates before the candidates are vetted and recommended in some fashion to the select board, to the appointing authority. So I would think you would benefit from a second interview with Tammy or anybody else you wanted, and the focus of the interview would be the issues that you would want to have addressed. And I agree that you do have very strong and talented department heads. I did have the benefit of reading your management letter today, and I think perhaps you can use that, the management audit letter from Powers and Sullivan, as a jumping off point with questions to Tammy, for instance. What about this? How would you handle that? What do you think of this? What's your experience with that? To measure the breadth and the depth of her experience, to get a handle on what how she would approach some of the financial issues that I saw in the management letter.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good recommendation, Buzz. I think that I would love to talk in more depth with Tammy about those matters and share with her some of our, financial management letters and some of the concerns that we have with personnel. And I'm only one vote, but she would be someone that I would like to talk to again.
I think that would be a good next step.
All right, well,
I would, if you two both are, if that's the only option as far as you two are concerned, she was one of the two that I would consider, so.
I mean, definitely, we would like to talk to Tammy again, whether or not we would talk to anyone else. If you have any sage advice, Buzz.
Well, if, looking at your department heads, you have good folks in place, there's no question. The place where I think strength is needed, strengthening is needed, is around the financial areas. And again, just from looking at the management letter, it seems that the talents that this individual has may be a match.
No question.
You know, it may be a match, but you won't know. We won't know until you folks have an opportunity to ask some very pointed questions.
Yep.
And that's fair game at this point. To, in fact, and if you want to, you could set up the interview and say, these are our questions. These are what we're going to ask you. How would you do X? Or give me an example.
Yep.
Oftentimes, you want an example of how they address Y or Z. And the same thing with, again, we're looking at this individual. I'm looking at a resume now. I'm looking at a resume, and the years in banking, there may be some HR issues there that have relevance to you folks.
Right.
Hiring, firing.
Yep.
I mean, that process, whether you're in the public sector or private sector, as you know, the key issue there is just documentation.
Right. One thing, Buzz, is it appropriate for us to make some phone calls and ask some questions, or is that something you do and we don't get involved in that?
All right. We do that.
Okay.
We do that. And for your final candidate, we will do a background investigation of the individual, and you will get a report. Generally, there are like 8 to 10 pages of narrative of the people that the investigator has interviewed, and then 8 to 10 pages of their financial documents and anything else related to their candidacy that may come up. But we would ask the person for their references, and then our investigators are retired police officers, so they're going to call the chief of police in Orange, Massachusetts, and find out about Greg, and they may call the chief of police in the town in which Greg grew up to see if he is who he claims he is. So we not only take the references he would give us, but they probe past that, past those references. So we like to think we would give you a good overview of this individual. Now, in the case of somebody like a finance person, although the police chief we think is an important reference, there may be other people who you folks would want us to get an unbiased recommendation from.
Yeah, I mean, I would suspect that she has spent, or many of our people that we have interviewed, that the chief of police wouldn't know a whole lot about him, quite frankly.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm really interested in what people, supervisors in the past, or people who have worked with that person in various, scenarios with HR. I would love somebody to talk to the Department of Revenue about the town of Warren and say, what are the what's your stuff look like? I would love her to share with me her, her auditing letters. What's her management letters look like? My guess is, okay, and I could be wrong, that she's got a clean management letter and has had more than one, because that's important to her. That
Yeah.
is something important to Barre, since we've not had a clean management letter in decades. So I think that, that her skill set is definitely needed in our community. We just worry about, or I just worry about the HR piece, where you don't have to fix the numbers, but you have to try to fix personnel. Because that happens.
Yes, that certainly is part of the job, and I think those are fair questions to perhaps ask her, ask any candidate. How many, tell us your worst hiring and firing experience. Well, hiring sometimes isn't so bad. It's the termination piece that is usually difficult and time-consuming.
You and I both know in the public sector, it is the most time-consuming thing you do.
Yes.
I mean, if you get into some sort of a disciplinary situation and so forth, it is just detail, paper, policy, it's an arduous process. But I think it kind of lends to going to the person who has to take care of the financials, because it's the same thing. Dotting I's, crossing T's, making sure, because in the public sector, the stuff you have to do to satisfy the Department of Revenue is really extraordinarily difficult, time-consuming. And in a community that doesn't have a clean management letter, us, you want somebody who can do that piece for us, but I worry about the other piece, but we didn't really talk to her about the other piece, so I'm eager to do so, and hope that we would be able to do that.
All right then, if that's your direction, I don't know if you have it in the form of a motion or consensus or just what, I can, when would you be available to have a follow-up interview?
I mean, we would be available at our next meeting, which is on the 16th. We could certainly do a special meeting if necessary, if we can work it out with the three of us to be present, which I think we can be relatively flexible. So I think you could offer, because it's only going to be an hour's worth of.
So Monday's a holiday.
Yeah.
Tuesday is DPW commission, or
Tuesday's moved to Wednesday.
Tuesday moved to Wednesday.
We could do it the day after Indigenous People Day,
10th.
the 10th.
Yeah.
11th is a Wednesday, 12th is a Thursday.
I know I can't do it the 12th.
I can't do Thursday.
Yeah, and that Wednesday, I have a conflict that Wednesday.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
DPW commission that Wednesday,
Yeah,
and then
so
I have master plan on
we
Thursday.
could do the 10th, and we could do the 16th if we had to, right?
Yeah.
That's the next week.
Because that's our next meeting anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
And if she has an earlier afternoon thing, I think we could probably do it as early as 5:30 for her. Is
Yeah.
that 5:30?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we could do a 5:30.
You can meet at 5:30, okay, good, yeah.
Okay?
All right, I will work with Greg to set that up then with you folks, confirm with your office, yes.
Okay. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your help, Buzz. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay. So, I think that discussion is over, and we are now ready to go into executive session. Well, hold on.
So you're going into executive session.
To investigate charges of criminal misconduct or to consider the filing of a criminal complaint.
Any motion to go into that?
Yes, the motion
that's the
would be
motion.
to go into executive session for the purposes of investigating charges of criminal misconduct or to consider the filing of a criminal complaint.
Are you making that motion?
Um,
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Will you second that motion?
Second.
Yeah,
And
motion,
not to reconvene.
and not to reconvene to the public, well, just to
Only
adjourn.
adjourn.
Dixon, yes?
Marshall, yes?
Regina Shields.
We have executive session to begin.
By the way, I'm glad that we got clarity